Supposedly, 3 scary sounds to give you nightmares by Mrballen. What's good? How you day going? Morning, evening, night, whenever you're watching this video. The reason why I say that is because actually at the end we're gonna talk some ish about stuff I heard about sounds, tunes, tones, whatever, right? That can make your body do certain things like BS. I ain't gonna lie, I'm calling BS so far. But either way, go by the way, check out this video. I ain't gonna talk your ears off at the beginning because at the end I'm hella gonna do that. Yo, you wanna check out the original video? Link will be in the description below, but let's go.
One of today's audio clips is used by the United States Navy to simulate torture for Navy SEAL trainees. But before I get into today's stories, if you're a fan of the strange, dark, and mysterious delivered in story format, then you've come to the right channel because that's all we do, and we upload 3, 4, even 5 times every week. So if that's of interest to you, please steal the Like Button's library card and then take out several hardcover coffee table books, but then never return them. Also, please subscribe to this channel and turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our weekly uploads. All right, let's get into today's stories.
I gotta mute this part because it is now acclaimed. I'm intrigued though. I'm wondering, like, is it that Mariah Carey Christmas song? No, I'm playing. Stop playing though. Warning: disturbing images and statements. Viewer discretion is advised. Boots.
Amongst all the special operations units in the entire world, there are a handful of units that are better than everybody else. And one of them is the United States Navy SEALs. Now, I'm a little bit biased because I was a Navy SEAL from 2012 to 2017, but just objectively speaking, the amount of money that the United States Navy invests into creating one Navy SEAL is approximately $1 million. Now think about that from a military standpoint. The military is like the ultimate bureaucracy, where it's all about kind of mass producing solutions. But with the Navy SEAL teams, it's kind of like the opposite, where this big bureaucracy is spending all this money and time to identify individuals that on their own merits are going to be the solution. And in order to be identified as one of those individuals, you need to go through arguably one of the most difficult military selection programs in the entire world. And if you make it to the very end of the 1.5 to 2 year long process of becoming a Navy SEAL, one of the last things you have to do before you can actually put a trident on your chest and be a Navy SEAL is go through a course called SERE School. SERE stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. They're going to teach you how to
hear that one more time because I want to ask puberty. My bad. I had to clear my throat. But I want to hear that one more time because I want to ask my dad about
put a trident on your chest and be a Navy SEAL is go through a course called SERE School. SERE stands for Survival, Evasion, Resistance, and Escape. They're going to teach you how to handle being captured by the enemy and more specifically, being tortured by the enemy. Much of SERE School is done in the classroom, but the famous part of SERE School is done in the field. Now, before I get into anything to do with the field exercise, just know that I can't really talk in detail about it because a lot of it is actually sensitive information. So I'm going to be speaking in generalities about the course, but you'll get the gist and you will appreciate the audio recording. After you finish the classroom portion of SERE School, you move on to the kind of final training exercise or field exercise. And that's where they simulate you being behind enemy lines and getting captured, and you need to basically...
I shouldn't have said that at the beginning. I'm so sorry, dog. I legit keep hearing, all I wanted this thug. I don't know the song, but I keep hearing it. I hear it real faint, too, like it's just coming in. I'm like, yo, is Mrballen gonna troll? Because I keep... Look, I be peeping gestures, dog. He keeps smiling here and there. I'm guessing it is... I'm thinking... I ain't gonna lie, I'm thinking there's gonna be some troll shit, but no, Mrballen is gonna be serious. But I keep seeing the little cheese come and go away. I'm like, dog, it's about to be some BS, man. I'm gonna let it finish, my bad. Ah! Ah! Don't get me wrong, Mariah Carey is fire.
After you finish the classroom portion of SERE School, you move on to the kind of final training exercise or field exercise. And that's where they simulate you being behind enemy lines and getting captured, and you need to basically show your instructors that you don't just crumble, that you actually can handle the stress and the pressure and the mistreatment. There are segments of the field training exercise where you are put into very stressful positions, you're sensory deprived, and you have to listen to a particular audio recording. It is the Boots poem by Rudyard Kipling, and anybody that's been through Navy SERE School knows exactly what that poem sounds like.
I thought it was going to be a sound.
Because you listen to it, It is the Boots poem by Rudyard Kipling, and anybody that's been through Navy SEER school knows exactly what that poem sounds like, because you listen to it over and over and over and over and over. It is maddening. I mean, maddening. I put it on for this video and listened to it. I had to turn it off. It's seriously awful. And so just imagine listening to
Play
this for
it.
like,
I want to hear it.
I don't want to give any times away, but it's an extremely long amount of time that you're just listening to this in this tight little space and you're all cramped up. It's awful. It really is. So here you go. Have a listen to the official torture song of the Navy SEAL teams.
We have put slogging over Africa. So stand by day because the company, but night brings long strings of 40,000 million boots, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Try to think of something different. Oh, my God, keep me from going lunatic. Boots, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. We have put slogging over Africa.
Man. It was like, I wanted to be funny. I did. It was parts though. I was like, man, I couldn't take this shit. But I was like, no. All I gotta do is hear it once. They had to hear it over and over and over and over. So stop being a little. So I am gonna go back a bit because I do want to hear it one more time though, because I was picking up some ish. But regardless though, the fact that, okay, so like how he was explaining blah, when you are put to this test, before even leading up to that, basically starting the test when they kidnap you and everything. I was wondering, I don't know if any of you know, do they do the test this way? Is it like, okay, let's say if I just happen to join tomorrow, right? Boom, I'm there, whatever. And I'm just chilling, doing whatever. Oh yeah, look, yeah, I used to make YouTube videos. Boom, come and grab me. Would they do it like that and then it begin? Or it's like, all right, are you ready, Charlie? Because we about to do this shit. Well, I'm quite sure it would be that nice. I just couldn't picture us. Damn, but regardless, hey, salute to you, Mr. Ball. Appreciate it. Because, boy, I ain't got the balls to do it. But let me hear it one more time, man. He low-key started talking that shit at one point, though, when he was like, slide on that nigga. I said, okay, stop playing for us.
Games.
Get it out now.
We have put slogging over Africa.
The official torture song of the Navy SEAL teams.
We have put slogging over Africa. So stand by day because the company, but night brings long strings of 40,000 million boots, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. Try to think of something different. Oh, my God, keep me from going lunatic. Boots, moving up and down again. There's no discharge in the war. We have put slogging over Africa.
Damn, fast off. This is a fucking good video. I'm sorry, my bad. I have so many questions and so little time because I don't want to talk your ears off. But one, just a basic YouTube question is, are these the actual lyrics or is this just the automated YouTube caption that YouTube's picking up? Don't know, whatever. I do want to look up the actual lyrics at the end of this video though, I'm not gonna lie to you. Two, this is just kind of me wondering, like, man, that mean by at one point, because it will be hard, impossible to not. I was like, at one point they learned this shit by heart though. I guarantee Mr. Ballen probably know this shit by heart now. I want to hear that shit over and over. Okay, no more going back. Damn, this video is fucking
slogging over Africa.
Click.
In 2013, a Reddit user was having a hard time getting to sleep, and then they would wake up in the middle of the night and their sleep was just generally broken, and so they decided they would look into downloading a sleep app. She wound up settling on a particular app called Sleep as Android because not only would it give her a whole bunch of information about her night's sleep, but it also had a constant recording going over the course of the night, and anytime it picked up an anomaly in sound, like snoring or talking in your sleep, They would record it and then clip it and provide it to you the next morning and show you these highlights of your sleeping from the night before. So she downloads the app, and starting on October 1st, 2013, she begins dutifully turning this thing on before she goes to bed. And then the next day she would get up, she'd review her sleep, she'd read all the graphs, she'd get all the reports. But the thing she wound up being the most interested in was this little timeline of all these instances where she would snore or make a funny sound. And it was just interesting because you don't get to listen to yourself sleep.
Yeah,
because,
I'm interested.
well, you're sleeping. But starting in November, so a month after downloading it, she started noticing that the app was picking up this strange clicking sound. It didn't have a consistent cadence to it. It almost sounded like someone had dropped something on the ground, but it was really difficult to discern it as something specific in the room. And so she assumed it had to be like the string on the fan, because some nights her fan was on, some nights it was off. And when it was swinging, maybe it was rattling the fan and the chain was bumping into the side of the frame, or it was just something else in her room. It didn't strike her as a very meaningful sound, but she was at least starting to be aware of this sound. Over the next couple of weeks, she heard the sound a couple more times, not while she was sleeping, just the next morning when she would see it on her app. And she actually started trying to recreate the sound by turning on the fan and actually shaking the fan to try to get the string to bounce up against the side in hopes that that would be the sound. But despite listening really intently for this sound, she just could not duplicate it and just didn't know where it was coming from. But again, she's not concerned, she's just a little bit perplexed. Then on December 30th, 2013, so this is about 3 months after downloading it, she's had about a month and a half of hearing these clicking sounds. She wakes up and she sees on her app's timeline, there's a whole bunch of audio recordings, but there's one particularly loud recording that took place at 2:04 a.m. earlier that morning. She loads it up and she starts hearing those clicking sounds that she'd grown accustomed to hearing. But then she hears herself sit up in the bed and say, "What are you doing?" And then there's a pause. And then a male voice says back to her,
"Nothing."
And then you hear some more clicking, and you hear that same voice say,
"That's them."
And so right after hearing this recording,
That's what?
And you hear that same voice say,
"That's them."
And so right after,
My bad, I can't make that out. Hold on, one more time.
and then a male voice says back to her,
"Nothing."
And then you hear some more clicking, and you hear that same voice say,
"That's them."
And so right after hearing this
That's
recording, the Reddit user is like, "Oh my God, was someone in my house?" And she runs around the house, makes sure nobody else is there. All the doors are locked, all the windows are locked. There's no sign that anybody was in the house. Nothing's missing, at least nothing she can tell. The Reddit user's friend suggested, why don't you post it to Reddit and see if anybody can give you some insight into what this was. Out of the thousands of comments on there that were all over the map for what this could be,
I'm gonna let it finish, but so far I'm calling hoax. So far.
this was. Out of the thousands of comments on there that were all over the map for what this could be, there was a speech expert that actually got in touch with the Reddit user and went through the audio with her and then had her send recordings to him as well as her son to try to see if it would be possible for her to make the voice. And the speech expert determined that it would be impossible for her or her son to have made the voice in the room, meaning someone else was in the room with her in the middle of the night. After this particular night, she never picked up another voice in her room with her, but she did continue to hear that clicking sound that she began to associate with whoever this person was that was in the room with her. And so she and her son ultimately moved. Here is the audio recording.
Oh.
What are you doing? Okay.
I don't know. We got to add real quick. I'm going to let it play. That one, I do want to go a little deeper into that one to see what's going on. Because I ain't going to lie, that one ain't got me sold. But I was pointing out, I was like, hey, that's dog, that chapter or whatever. So that chapter covered this. If so, I want to check out his video on this. Ooh. Look, I ain't going to lie. All I'm saying is, before TikTok, there was Reddit. Let me hear it one more time.
And so she and her son ultimately moved. Here is the audio recording.
What are you doing? Okay.
I ain't gonna lie, to me, it just sounds like she talking to herself. I don't hear a man voice. I really don't. I hear, what are you doing? Nothing. like that, it go a little different. We'll wait till I watch the full video.
In the late 1940s and 1950s, Reverend Jim Jones was known for his charitable works
I know this.
and his efforts towards desegregating Indiana. This earned him a devoted, loyal following, in particular from the African American community. In 1956, he purchased a church in Indiana and he named it the People's Temple, and all of his loyal followers went there and joined his congregation. During his fiery sermons, Jones emphasized helping the poor and lifting up the downtrodden, but despite his best efforts, raising money was proving to be a big challenge for him. Jones knew he was an amazing performer and he was really good on stage, and so instead of trying to do all the old school church fundraising techniques, he decided to do something a little more new school that played to his strengths, which was performance. And so what he started doing is advertising that he could perform miracles, live miracles on stage. And specifically what he said he could do is he could pull cancer out of people. And he had this magic trick where he would go up to somebody that had cancer and he would appear to be pulling on them, and then he would pull out what looked like meat from this person. And it was meat. It was chicken meat. And he made it seem like he had removed the cancer. And people loved it. And his congregation swelled immediately, and money was pouring in. And it was around this time that Jones began to realize the power of his own influence. He could make his followers believe anything he wanted. This power trip, though, over time would cause Jones to lose his grip on reality. And so when he began espousing fairly radical views, he didn't have anybody that was going to stand up and say, I don't know if you're right about that. Instead, he had a mass of people that basically blindly agreed with him. But when his social goals became so radical that they attracted Marxist leaders and violent leftist groups to the People's Temple, it was the one time that his followers said, okay, enough is enough. And there was a mass defection out of the People's Temple. And some of these defectors, when they left and had a chance to kind of look at the People's Temple for what it was, they realized it was more like a cult, and that they had been brainwashed, and that Jim Jones was a lunatic, and anybody who followed him could potentially be in danger. And so they went to the media and told them about this. The media converges on the People's Temple, and all of a sudden it's this huge scandal that Jim Jones is the leader of a cult. And as stories started to break about Jim Jones being this awful person who was stealing from his members and abusing them and brainwashing them, he up and leaves.
No pun on me drinking my water this entire story, dog. I know this story. Damn. However, though, I was not aware of the chicken is cancer part. That part went on my head. So is that there's a nigga somewhere eating Popeyes right now. I want some Wingstop. I ain't gonna lie to you, dog. Fry my shit hard, give me half lemon pepper, half garlic parmesan. Ooh, I go crazy, dog.
Stealing from his members and abusing them and brainwashing them. He up and leaves for South America with hundreds of his most loyal followers, and they resettle in an area called Guyana that would eventually be called Jonestown. Life on the Jonestown compound was very grim. Not only did they have 10-hour workdays every day of the week, but food and water were extremely limited because they were so cut off from modern society that the only way they could get any sort of resources was through haggling over a shortwave radio that usually didn't even work. So they're totally cut off, they have very few supplies, and then at the end of their 10-hour workday, it was mandatory for all members to come into this main area underneath this big scaffolding where Jim Jones would get up on stage and he would rant and rave about various government conspiracies that were going to befall them. He would excoriate defectors.
Man, I'm just looking at the amount of black people in that crowd because I ain't gonna lie though, when you broke, I don't know who this is, but it's kind of like serial killer. Damn, I'm legit wondering, was it situations where it's like, yo, we're just that poor and or uneducated, where it's like, yeah, we really feel like this dude is going to be the savior that we need. He is the second coming at this point. And I mean, don't get me wrong, you can be mad all you want, but the shit happened. So every time I see a cult, those are the things that really get me. Like, what is it? Like, was it just this individual had that much power though over the tongue, using the tongue, where it's like, yo, I'm just that good, where I'm taking over people's mental that is legit strong though? Or was it like, nah, it's all way. Well, no one can really, I don't know if anyone can just really answer that. Or is it one of those things where it's like majority of the time it's like, yeah, it's just weak-minded people. Oh shit, man. Those are yo, I told y'all my favorite type of scary movies is freaking cults and dolls, man. Coach always has me thinking, like, this legit look like Wiz Khalifa right here, dog. Not even being funny. But Coach always have me thinking, like, damn, every time I watch him, like, what happened? Like, where did the power really come from? Was it really the power of the tongue, which is that good? Or was it really like, no, this mental was just not strong? Was it a little bit of both? I don't know.
Various government conspiracies that were going to befall them. He would excoriate defectors and talk about how they needed to round them up and make examples of them. And if you stepped out of line, even just a little bit, you could find yourself locked inside of a coffin or trapped at the bottom of a well as a form of punishment. Jones was already spiraling out of control, but some health issues led him to take a daily, near lethal dose of amphetamines and sedatives that made him a total lunatic. Suddenly, his nighttime speeches just weren't enough, and he began pumping these crazy speeches 24/7 over loudspeakers all over the camp. One defector said the speeches were centered on this idea that back in the United States, the government was systematically rounding up African Americans and sending them to concentration camps. And it was only a matter of time before they came here and took any of the African Americans here into captivity. And since the majority of on this idea that back in the United States, the government was systematically rounding up African Americans and sending them to concentration camps. And it was only a matter of time before they came here and took any of the African Americans here into captivity. And since the majority of the People's Temple were of African American descent, this was terrifying. U.S. Congressman Leo Ryan had been keeping close tabs on the People's Temple ever since the news broke about Jim Jones kind of being a hack and a maniac. And when they went to South America, he just felt like no one's really checking in on them, and I'm concerned for the well-being of the people that are there. And so on November 18th, 1978, Ryan, along with 18 other people, flew to Guyana to talk to Jim Jones and to make sure that everything was okay. When he arrived, he was expecting it to be kind of in disrepair and be this chaotic scene, but it wasn't. The camp was maintained, people were well-dressed, polite. It seemed like a happy and healthy community with a few hundred people there. And he actually went to Jim Jones and says, you know, it looks like you got a good thing going here. But Jones, in his totally delusional state, believed...
You're always only going to see what people want to show you.
Oh, it looks like you got a good thing going here. But Jones, in his totally delusional state, believed Ryan was being sent by the U.S. government to round up the members and to ship them into concentration camps. And so as soon as the congressman left the camp and was headed back to the airport, Jones sent a security team after them, and they shot and killed Leo Ryan along with 4 others. While that massacre is going on, Jones goes over to the middle of the camp where he normally gives his nighttime speeches, and he calls all 900 plus members to the middle of camp to listen to him. He turns on a recording device, he picks up his microphone, and he delivers a speech that would come to be known as the death tape. His famous first line of this speech is, "I've tried my best to give you a good life." And you can hear the crowd erupt with cheers as he says this. And what listeners of this tape can't see is what's being unveiled at the same time. Right next to Jim Jones is this silver cauldron of this sickly purple liquid. And next to it are about 900 cups. The next day, authorities are outside the gate of Jonestown, and they're getting ready to head into Jonestown to confront Jim Jones about his connection to the murder of Congressman Ryan and the 4 others. And they're loading their guns, they're getting ready for what's bound to be massive resistance from this crazy cult leader and his followers. And as they're making their way down the road and the camp comes into view, they notice that it's eerily quiet and they don't see anybody moving around. And as they're walking through some of the high grass, someone trips and falls, and they think they've stepped on a log. But when they stand up and look down, they notice that it's a dead person, and they scream out, and then everyone's looking around, and they notice that all over the ground in front of them are hundreds and hundreds of dead bodies. There's more bodies than they can possibly count. The previous night, that purple liquid that was revealed to the crowd after Jim Jones begins his speech was Kool-Aid mixed with cyanide. And over the course of several hours, and it's all recorded on the death.
I don't know how old you are or if you know this, but if you ever seen shows where they kind of play on drink the Kool-Aid, that's basically where this came from.
After Jim Jones begins his speech was Kool-Aid mixed with cyanide. And over the course of several hours, and it's all recorded on the death tape, he encourages his members to come up and die with dignity and drink the Kool-Aid. However, if you didn't drink the Kool-Aid or didn't want to drink the Kool-Aid, like many of the 300 children, their parents would make them, or the armed guards would come over and they would inject them with it. And after everybody's died, Jim Jones doesn't even drink from the Kool-Aid. He ends up shooting himself. I've decided to only include a very small portion of the death tape because so much of it is just it's heartbreaking, anyway. It's distressing, and it should be something that you decide you want to listen to. It should not be thrust upon you.
How very much I've tried my best to give you the good life. It was said by the greatest of prophets from time immemorial, no man takes my life from me, I lay my life down. If we can't live in peace, then let's die in peace. We've been so betrayed. We have been so terribly betrayed. Take the portion like they used to take in ancient Greece and step over quietly, because we are not committing suicide. It's a revolutionary act. We can't go back. They won't leave us alone. They're now going back to tell more lies, which means more congressmen, and there's no way we can survive.
So that's going to do it, guys. Let me know in the comments what you thought of these three stories.
Man, I just couldn't help but to look at the kid behind him, man.
At the top of the comment section. If you
And I get it, talking about this situation, because it is real life. It really happened. It's going to be a little touchy-feely. It's going to be sensitive to talk about. But again, when I watch movies based off of cults, where rather it being fact or fiction, blah, fucking English, rather I watch documentaries about them, read about them, whatever, I always wonder at what point past the part we already talked about, the mental situation, but like at what point do the person who's there as the attendee, like well, as the member at this point, and where it's like, all right, you know what, I have to take some type of accountability for life at this point. I have kids here at this point as well, like, yo, I have to be held responsible for this age. Don't get me wrong, once you go to that location where they take you off, and it's like, yeah, now you're really in their home, because they usually start, some of them start like in their hometown, where it's like, yeah, meet me at the church, or meet me here, we're having a sermon here, XYZ, didn't kind of take you over. Not throwing shots at churches, I'm saying this is how a good amount of these stories go when you watch these cults. But either way it go though, once they get you to that location, yeah, you kind of screwed, not gonna lie to you, because we know what the soldiers will do there to you when you try to go against it. GG, and we see how they do it, which still works kind of the same here. Oh, everybody, oh no, the majority thinks this. Oh no, you don't want to go against that, because they gonna attack you their damn self, because they already know, like, you're going against the beliefs. They don't see it. I don't want to talk shit, but I thought we was gonna get like actual sounds, like for example, you hear shit like shit like that. They're like, yeah, if you hear this sound, it'll make you want to. I don't want to say it for YouTube, because I remember someone, dog, it was something I was watching on YouTube, and I think someone in school was trying to explain this to me. I called bullshit on it from the beginning, like, yeah, there's a certain sound you can hear that make you want to commit. Ooh, I don't want to say it for YouTube. I was like, that's BS. You're not about to tell me that. But this is actually like scary sounds here. All right, my camera about to die, dog. Go ahead and get up out here, enjoy your day, morning, evening, night, whenever you're watching this video. But I'm out.